The higher court, the Eighth Court of Appeals, to be specifically, reviewed the record and all the evidence in this case. And they came back not, here's the important thing about this ruling. They didn't remand and reverse this for a new trial. It came back with an order of an acquittal. So this really validates what we said from the beginning, that there was no evidence that Ms. Barrientes Vela was guilty, and that the government could not prove that she purposely hid any evidence or falsified any documents. And so it really is vindication for her, and we're very pleased because we maintained that from the beginning.
I'm assuming that perhaps you've spoken with her when the news came down. How was that received?
Well, myself and Jason Goss called her as soon as we found out, and she was overwhelmed with emotion. Her husband was with her. I'm not sure if any more family was in the background, but her and her husband were together. And she was very emotional, very grateful for the hard work that not only ourselves, but then her appellate team did for this case. And it was a long time coming, but it was well-deserved. And it was something that we were confident at from the beginning. And the Eighth Court reviewed all the evidence, all the relevant evidence, all the evidence that was introduced in the trial, reviewed all the record, and came back with this ruling. And it's a big deal for her.
And Nico, walk us through that. I mean, this has been a long process, and to have gone to trial and for evidence to have been presented, to have been found guilty, and now to get to this point. Walk us through what the difference was from A to Z in this case.
Well, I mean, look, the jury does what the jury does. Juries get it right sometimes, and juries don't get it right sometimes. In this case, I say this respectfully because I respect the jury process, but they didn't get it right. And so the Eighth Court reviewed everything, there's a lot of legal things and objections in the way we presented the evidence, and the record was preserved a certain way. And they reviewed all the evidence that we presented and the advocacy that was done in trial. And like I said, they came back with an acquittal. It wasn't a remand and try it again. It was an acquittal. So it's a big deal. It's not as likely as other outcomes on appellate cases, but it's well received by her family and by our law firm.
Where does it go from here potentially?
Well, the government can file a motion for a higher court, the Court of Criminal Appeals, to review if they want to. The higher court would review what the Eighth Court reviewed. And so we can't say what they're going to say, but we're confident in the same evidence that was presented at trial or lack thereof, and the same defense we made. And so if the DA's office decides to file what they call a PDR and go to the Court of Criminal Appeals, then they can do that if they want to.
I guess the bigger question, how often does something like this happen where someone is acquitted after being convicted?
I mean, it doesn't happen often, and it doesn't happen every day. One of the lawyers in our office, Patrick Valentine, is board certified in appellate law, and this is not something regularly. Michael Gross is the one that handled the appeal in this case, and so he did a great job as well. So again, just a very happy moment for Michelle's family, and she's been vindicated as she should have from the beginning.
All right. In terms of a timeline of when perhaps the state could theoretically file an appeal, how long is that, or what does that process look like?
They have limited time to do that, and I'm sure they'll be making that decision within the days and weeks to come, but they have a limited time to do that.